Hi, you're listening to Jesus Christ That's Funny, the podcast with Pastor Dwayne Black and comedian Ethan Moore about theology, life, and comedy. We broadcast every week from the Sanctuary Church in Fort Lauderdale. And now, it's Jesus Christ That's Funny with Pastor Dwayne and Ethan Moore. Well, hey there, Pastor Dwayne. How you doing?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Nice to see you again, man.
Yeah, it was an hour ago.
About an hour ago.
Yeah,
that's right.
since I saw you. Hey, so on our last episode, right. I was just thinking I should have mentioned, in addition to, your website for the church.
Yeah, but what about yours?
And yes, and our which is what, by the way? Your
Sanctuary Church.
Sanctuary
FTL,
Church.
that's Fort Lauderdale, FTL.org.
.org. And we mentioned that people can contact us at JesusChristThat'sFunny@gmail.com.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I didn't mention my own website, which I should really. My website is ethanmorecomedy.com.
Right, and isn't there another one?
Well, you can listen. I have another podcast called Sex on Kava.
That's
right. You can listen to that at sexonkava.com. That's a sleazy, filthy podcast about lots of F words and,
Really?
The Lord's name being taken in vain. Oh, wait, that's the title of this podcast actually has that, so I don't know if it's so different really now that I think about it. But no, that's the podcast I do from the Awana Kava bar every Saturday night.
Right. And
that one's a lot of fun. We get like a comedian or an actress or someone fun each week to sit in, and
that's good.
Then we take questions from all the weirdos that hang out in that bar.
What an interesting idea. What a good idea.
It really is a lot of fun.
We should take this there one time.
We could do that. That
would be fun.
You could minister to the weirdos, It would be very Christ-ian.
And a kava bar. That's great. I just love that.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good time.
I've tried kava once now, and my face went numb. What's that all about?
That means you're getting the good stuff.
Is that good to go? Okay.
No, yeah, I don't know. It has some kind of thing in it, apparently, that makes your nerve endings numb.
Yeah, no lips, and it was great.
Yeah. That means it's working.
Okay.
Right. Strap in.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do that from there, and that's always a good time. It's a unique thing, Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything else quite like it in South Florida, at least, and maybe not even in a lot of other places. So, if you're looking for kind of a different podcast about like sex and love and relationships and that sort of thing, sexonkava.com. Check it out.
Good.
And check out my website, Ethan Moore Comedy, for tour dates, because I'm actually going to, all these different places. I'm doing the Florida's Funniest competition all this month, October.
Oh, that's really great.
I'm going to New York next week. Well, by the time this airs, I will already be back from New York.
New York.
You want to ask me how my trip was?
Yeah, how was it? Did you kill in New York?
I killed every stage. Yeah. I'm going to try to do between 4 and 6 stages a night.
That is unbelievable.
For 4 nights in a row. So, yeah.
That's. How do you do that? How do you keep up? Don't you get like by the third one you're like going, oh no.
No, it's great. I love it. I just love it. So last time I did that, it was about a month ago, and it's what I love about it is you go there, and let's say it's the third day or something. Well, the night before I maybe I'm writing a joke.
Right.
Then I wake up around noon.
Right.
Okay. And get some food. Get on the subway, go to the first comedy club. Maybe it starts at 3. Go to do that open mic. It's 5 minutes. Then I'm riding the subway to the next open mic, writing jokes in between. I've done, so I did that first joke at the first place, right? I'm going to the next one, I'm rewriting the joke, doing it at another place. Going to the next one, adding more jokes,
Oh, cool. That's really great.
By the end of the day, I've done that same joke 6 times. Now it's actually worth telling, you know? And that's the great thing. Like it might take me a week in South Florida to work out a joke, and in New York I might be able to work it out in a day.
Yeah, but there's something kind of cool about being on the subway and writing a joke.
Yeah, you don't have to drive.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's something right about that. You know, that you're on a subway writing jokes, going from comedy place to comedy. That's really cool.
You feel like a cool, you know, bohemian artist or something.
Yeah,
you know,
I like it.
all
I
that
like
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
If you want to go to Chicago, let me know. My sister's up there, and she will take you to every comedy club there is.
Really?
Yeah.
Does she have a couch?
She does. She does.
Yeah.
She has a.
That's the big thing. I'm actually staying. Last time I went and paid for an Airbnb, and this time I'm like, I need to not I can't really afford that. So I actually have a sister of a friend,
right,
who's putting me up for 4 days in Queens.
Oh, cool. That's great.
So that's the big thing for, you know, comedian. You're going to go somewhere just to do open mics and not get paid. It's like, ooh, someone could hook me up with a couch.
Okay, so
big.
If you want to just jet over to Chicago, I got you covered.
Oh, that's great to know. Okay. Chicago's a great comedy town.
Yep, it is. Yep,
huge comedy town. So I've got several friends that moved there, just in the last year.
She does stand-up comedy. She does voiceovers, and she does plays. And she's actually written a play. She wrote a play called what was it? Where Salem, the musical.
Oh. Yeah, I always felt like
Salem should be a musical.
You know, that tragic chapter in Massachusetts history would make great musical theater. That's perfect.
It was really terrific, yeah.
Right. Really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, I could see it.
It did the Fringe tour, you know, which is that tour that goes all over the country. And yeah, it was good.
A lot of trial transcripts as songs.
Really, they just did. There were 3 girls, and they did it, and they were dressed as men, and it was just fabulous.
It sounds like fun.
Good.
That's cool. Okay. Yeah. What's her info? Can we plug her?
Allison Black in Chicago. Yeah, she's on, about every time I turn on television, she's doing a voiceover for somebody someplace.
Oh, that's great.
She's doing well.
All right, Allison Black in Chicago. Look her up. And I'll be staying on your couch when I'm there.
Right, that's right.
He just offered me, so I can't.
Allison, you're gonna like him. He's a really nice guy. Okay.
Yeah. So my trip to Chicago was great. No, by the time this airs,
that's right.
So what do you want to talk about tonight, Pastor?
Well, you know, we kind of ended the other day, earlier today. We ended on the idea of talking about relationships, and we
always talk about that.
Yeah, but there were some things that you were bringing up that were pretty interesting. I thought maybe we'd go back there for just a second.
Well, one thing that I was telling you about between podcasts here was just like I've been thinking a lot about the concept of identity.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Like for example, my identity as a comedian. You know, like I just sort of made it up. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I say I'm a comedian, so now I'm a comedian. Or maybe you say you're a pastor,
right? So
you're a pastor. You have some sort of external confirmation of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But at some level, it's like just a way of dealing with the world, you know. And I don't know. I had this moment where I'm like doubting myself, like, am I really a comedian?
Right.
You know, what does that really mean? Things like that.
And so you may have different elements and parts and pieces to your life. You may have this and this and this, and on top of it, you're a comedian.
Well, what it got me thinking about is there really anything real all the way down? Because you could just keep deconstructing your identities until there's nothing left. So
you had like this deep existential crash.
I did earlier this week. Yeah, I did. I had this moment in the middle of the night where I was like, you know, who am I really? You know, I mean, I'm also, you know, I'm in recovery from alcohol and drugs, that stuff.
Yeah.
So I also have that, you know, it's like, did I make up that personality too?
Are you really there?
Am I really there? You know? You know, so it's like, and that's like sort of mortal fear, because it's like, oh, am I could I go back to, drinking and things like that, so that could be really terrifying. But
see, everybody I meet that are in different types of recovery, one of the biggest things they get going on is they are starting to think really about their life in a real serious manner. I mean, they're not taking it for granted. They're looking at how they're developing and who they are and flaws within their things that got them there, things that created the crash and burning, and they're trying to make that change. I see really neat things happening.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think especially early on you dig into that stuff too. But I mean, for me, it's, I've been in recovery for a while now.
Right.
I won't say exactly how long, but it's, be measured in years.
Right.
Right. So it's like sometimes you sort of think, well, I've got that figured out.
Yeah.
And then you have a moment like this. And I used to have these moments like this all the time.
Really?
Like years ago. Yeah. When I was still, still drinking a lot and occasionally using drugs, and I had a couple of past careers, and with each of these careers I would have these moments in the middle of the night often where I would wake up and I would wonder, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
Is this really my calling? And I always concluded that it wasn't, which was a really terrifying thing.
And so then you felt like you were just pretending. And
oh yeah, like so
you're going to be found out soon.
Well, yeah. Oh yeah, it's all a sham. And I was like, well, I'm pretty good at pretending,
right?
And to the point where people want to pay me money to play this role. People want to pay me money to be a businessman, for example, like that, or administrator or whatever it is that I'm doing, this in this era of my life, and and so I'm getting all these external signals, in terms of like social recognition, right? Material, right? So things coming to me, nice place to live, money in the banks, that sort of thing, and respect for peers, all that sort of thing. And then you think, oh well, then that you just add up all those things, and then that creates the identity, and then you should be happy with that,
right? And that's not very deep, is it?
What do you mean by deep?
Well, there's not a lot of faith in it. It's a lot of materialistic things that we're looking at, a lot of things that are kind of just, skin deep, clothing, car, house, those kind of things, all waiting for that to, like, sooner or later somebody's going to find out that I really don't know what I'm supposed to know, or I'm the person that I've pretended to be.
Yes, and then that's when it all comes crashing down, right?
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, I guess I don't know if I really thought about it like that. I just sort of thought, but I'll tell you how I implicitly I did think about it like that, which is that there were points where I would get caught up in the external material things, and I'd be like, oh, it's really important that I have like these nice suits,
right,
or that I cut my hair this way, and I look at that now and I realize, well, it's because I wanted to fit that image that I was trying to sculpt for the world to see,
right,
and that was more important to me than anything, because that was the manipulation that I could play on other people. I could control the way that they reacted to me,
What was it that pushed this button, this rerun button, that brought all this stuff back up?
So then it all came back. That's a good point. I mean, I had to. It was a sleepless night. There was some relationship stuff going on with one of the ladies we mentioned in the last episode. This podcast is getting far too personal. Well, once again, welcome to Ethan's Sex Life with Pastor Dwayne. So there's, it's like stuff like that. It's like, maybe it was a combination of lack of sleep and sexual frustration, and that brought me to this point. And so I had that same moment. Of,
but you're wondering,
is this really real?
Yeah.
Is my identity as is recovering alcoholic? Is that identity really real? Is this identity as comedian really real? Identity as a person who's trying to be of service and trying to help other people. Is that you have it's all these things, and then I'm sort of questioning all that. But a couple of things happened that were different this time.
What?
Well, so first of all, I kind of I had some negative feelings here.
Right.
And one thing that I do know from doing recovery for a long time is that sometimes you just have thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just don't feel comfortable. And you see what that's all about.
Right.
You experience it. And so I did, and I got out of the bed and I started writing, so I wrote about my feelings, and then I wrote some jokes, actually, because it's like so absurd to think these things sometimes. And what I realized is that, and it kind of passed, and I realized that the way that that ultimately, it doesn't make sense for me to say that ask that question, or fine, I can ask the question about my identity, but ultimately, this time, what's different is that I actually do feel like I've found an answer that seems to really be working.
Right. Right.
Like I do really feel like I'm called to do, some stuff relating to like comedy.
Right.
And trying to help use my voice to connect with other people in some sort of a mass media way, like a podcast.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But also, on stage, things like that. And in terms of the recovery stuff, I mean, it's like, you have doubts, but it's not to me, it wasn't, it's not like I'm going to go out and like buy a fifth of Jack Daniels or something like that, just because I have that thought, Fortunately, I'm not in that place right now,
But you know how many people hear this and going, yeah, man, I'm right there with you. I have the same thing. I question myself all the time. I'm not sure what's going on. And they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to get up in the middle of the night and write it down, so they journal it.
Well, it turns out that, I still felt uncomfortable with it the next day, too, of course, but it was a little less after I'd written it down.
Yeah.
And guess what? The answer to me was, which I didn't really have before, years ago, was to tell people about it.
Right.
I used to. I had my girlfriend there, years ago in these situations sometimes, and I captive there, and she's in the bed with me. Wake up, honey! I'm freaking out again.
I gotta tell you.
Having another existential crisis. It's been about 3 months. I'm about to. Not really sure where my life is going. Let's talk. I know you have to get up in the morning. Put some coffee on. So I know you love me, you're sitting still for this. No. So it's like I would tell her, this is my ex-girlfriend now. But in this situation, what I realized is that like over the next few days, I told several people, and I got several different perspectives on it. And they're all people who I sort of was willing to be that vulnerable with and trust and talk to about these kind of feelings and thoughts. And just in the relationship there of being able to connect with other people and share these sometimes terrifying thoughts, the burden was lessened a lot, and I got insight into them, And so out of this sort of crisis moment, one thing that's so different to me about me, I guess, from where I was years ago with these kinds of moments is that I got jokes out of it. I started writing jokes about it, and I got insight, and I got a sense that no, I am on the right path.
You are, yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay where I'm at, and I haven't figured it all out. I haven't solved anything, but before I would have these moments, and it would just be like, I guess this is just how people feel.
Right.
I guess everyone's dissatisfied with their life at some basic level, and I'm just another one who's like that. Right. That's how I really thought it was. And so now it's like, no, this is good. I've gotten insights into my character. I've gotten some material for the stage. I've connected with other people. I've gotten a little closer to some people because I've demonstrated some level of vulnerability.
Right.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, that's big.
And these are all good things that came out of maybe that moment of pain in the middle of the night.
Right.
So I think, and the key there is to reach out for help and to share it if you have pain or something.
And see, that's
you
exactly
need to share.
Yeah, that's exactly what I feel the issue is that, you know, if followers of Jesus, okay, which I am one, really read what this man had said, they would understand that Jesus had this idea that his followers would have this relationship that was at this deep level, that they share their stuff, you know, and in sharing their stuff, they take away the mask and they start to see each other as they really are. And there's something really bonding about that. And you start to develop a relationship that you go, I really know you, and you really know me, and you know my stuff, and you know the things that are going on. That's what the way was supposed to be. That's what that look was. And that's probably one of the things that irritates me so much about, you know, contemporary Christian whatever, is that we have so many people with masks on that, hey man, I'm perfect. Everything's okay. Everything's good with me. I'm fine.
Right.
I got no problems. That's not what it's supposed to be about.
Right.
You know, and when you're able to open up and share and get 3 or 4 people's perspective and be vulnerable and open yourself, that's when we connect at a deep level.
It's true. It's true. But, you know, it's like the other thing that I think I got hung up on is that, you know, it's that St. Francis thing, right? Where it's like, oh, you know, it's about help me to understand rather than to be understood.
Yes.
And I think I've developed a deeper understanding of that concept this week by going through this. And I thought that before I thought that meant, well, you just don't worry about yourself. You don't need any help. You just try to understand other people. And I'm realizing that that's false. That
Right.
understanding is always a two-way street.
Right.
You know, maybe the St. Francis prayer is trying to offer a safeguard there against trying to just, I don't know, selfishly have everyone, you know, pander to you and your fears and whims
Right.
and whatever and that sort of thing, and be understood in that way. But for me, it's important for me to admit at a deep level that
Right.
you know, I need to be understood, or I have a
Right.
deep instinct or desire to be understood, you know. And if I'm vulnerable with someone else and allow that to be seen, and don't just say, oh, I'm just here to understand you, I don't need, you know, just tell me, you know, then that opens the door to them being understood too.
Right.
You know, or vice versa. Maybe they go first or whatever. But the key there is that that being understood and understanding are actually two sides of the same coin. You know, I mean, obviously,
Right.
It's a two-way street, and you have to have both are going to happen.
Right.
You know, once you have some faith and you open the door to being vulnerable on one side, the other side can open up a little bit more.
Right.
And then there's that God in the relationships concept that we keep coming back to, I think.
That's good.
Because that's, you know, I mean, to me, that's the only way that I can get what the concept of God could possibly mean, is that it's in those moments in between, you know, those connections we have in between one another as human beings, or as, you know, a blade of grass, or grasshopper, or koala bear.
Grab this rock from my hand. No, you know, it is. There's that important part about the idea of a relationship, is that it is this continuous circle of love and caring and giving and showing and putting the masks down. And that's important. That's really important. I think that's a big thing. That's a big thing in our relationship, in the way we live our world, and the way we understand our God.
Yeah, there's you know, Martin Buber, right? I and thou, stuff. I always maybe that's what he was talking about. I don't know.
I think so.
Something like that. I read. I'm going to forget his name now. The guy who's he always looked like an alcoholic when he would go on TV, on like Bill Maher and stuff. He died a couple years ago. Christopher Hitchens.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, maybe that's a slander, but I think if you look at Christopher Hitchens interviewed in the last 10 years of his life, you're going to be like, oh, this guy looks like he just knocked back a few Winston Churchill-sized martinis. But he's always very lucid. I read his autobiography, and he talks about how he didn't like Martin Buber, and he thought it was just a bunch of like BS. And then he really didn't like him because his family moved into the house of Christopher Hitchens' buddies, who were Palestinians displaced by during the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Right. And I guess colonists would come in and get to take over the Palestinians' houses and stuff when they would move in. And so he was like, that guy's just sitting on his ivory tower saying, it's all about relationships, but what about the relationship with the, that Palestinian family that he took over their house? What about that, Mr. Buber? I don't know. That's just why. Good. Yeah. That's what I think of when I think of Martin Buber now, because that was the last thing I read about him after admiring him for all these years. Then I read that and I was like, maybe that alcoholic Christopher Hitchens has a good point. No, I don't know. I mean, the philosophy professors sometimes have insights that are deeper than their own lives are able to live up to.
Oh, I think
it's important to remember that. Maybe.
I think they're real deep thinkers all the time, and they're thinking about things.
I mean, I wonder what Aristotle's slaves and eunuchs would have thought about.
That's right.
The golden mean or whatever he wants to talk about.
I love the way your mind thinks. I love the way it is. That's great.
It's a dark place sometimes, Pastor. As the last 2 episodes here we've done, I'm not so sure if they will ever be aired. No, I don't know.
They're gonna come on. You got to open up.
Well, people appreciate the
honesty,
and the vulnerability. That's really what this episode has been about. So in good faith, I have to post it now, don't I?
Yeah, you
do. Well, if you want to talk to us about your vulnerabilities or your questions about theology,
right? Give us a call.
Give us an email at least at jesuschristthat'sfunny@gmail.com.
Right.
And you can get the pastor
at the Sanctuary Church, ftl.org. And you can reach me there. There's an email right there, and you can just zip it right to me.
There you go. He can, give you Scientology auditing sessions the way he's been giving me in the last couple episodes.
Oh, no.
You always pull it out of me, Pastor. I don't know. I'm like, I'm not going to say anything about my personal life. And then you're like, no, what about that thing that you said before when the mics were not hot?
That's right.
I'm like, mother. All right. Fine. We'll talk about it.
That's good.
No, it's good
stuff.
It's good. And then if you want more hilarious comedy, like you just heard with me talking about, all the sad, dark secrets of my soul, you can look me up at ethanmorecomedy.com for tour dates.
That's right.
Yeah. That's a laugh a minute, I tell you. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. I'm crying a little right now. No, it's funny. I think all this stuff is actually really, really funny, at some level. That's the thing. You got to be able to laugh at it.
Usually time, just a little bit of time. There's something funny about it.
Comedy plus tragedy.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
Comedy plus time.
Time makes tragedy plus time makes comedy.
Something like that. Yeah. We got to get the order of operations correct there, but yeah, no, I guess so. I guess I need a little more time.
But it's just
not funny yet.
But
it's going to be funny, I tell you.
There were some beautiful truths in there, and that's what you're digging for.
Yeah, maybe by the time this episode airs, it'll be real funny.
That's it.
It'll be hilarious.
That was really great.
All right, well, thanks, Pastor Dwayne.
Thank you.
As always, it was a pleasure. And
great seeing you, man.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Okay, take care. God bless.
All right, God bless.